19 frustrating realities to RV life. First thing I'm going to talk about that's really been frustrating, as you can see right now, look around, can't control the weather and small spaces, right? So personal space is an issue with these RVs, especially a day like today. I'm sitting out here, a little bit of rain, it's cold. Personal space is one of the things that when you get into RVing that's a change. When you've got great weather, you're doing a lot of things traveling, you don't recognize as much as when there is some downtime and you're stuck inside for lousy weather. So that's been a frustrating thing about RV life. That's frustrating when you're home, but maybe you have 2 cars, you got your routine. That was a little bit of a surprise. The next thing, finding competent people to do trades work. Now it could be in the house, in the motorhome, it could be plumbing, anything with RVs. It's hard to find competent tradespeople, right, to do the work. And what I would tell you, the key thing I found to solve that frustration is have the mission critical parts on hand. You know, whether it be water pumps. Like we have a Headhunter water pump system in here. It's not your traditional 12-volt system. If you don't have one of those, you can get one next day. But if you don't have the extra one, your water goes out. We can't even flush our toilet without it. We can't even use shore water. So whatever critical parts you have for your RV, have those on hand. And it could be, like I said, plumbing. It could be belts and things for your generator and for your engine. Whatever things you determine over time and or you've looked up that other people have found to be helpful to have that you can't get locally quick, have those on hand. That'll help with the frustrations and be able to find and get competent people and get the stuff you need in an adequate time. Another frustrating thing has been the discrimination based on age of your rig, age of you. And in our case, the one we found to be a little more frustrating than I thought would be the dogs, right? So we got 2 dogs. A lot of places want 1 dog. And then if your dogs are 50 pounds, it's another thing. So we've got an English Mastiff, so we fit, and 2 dogs. We fit both of those. 2 dogs and a dog that's large. That's been a little frustrating. I've been able to work through it by telling people, hey, here's what we've got. We've got this English Mastiff, it's a nice dog. But you'll find a lot of these places you go to stay at, that's going to be a limitation. Finding campsites that are going to be level for the rig, especially if you've got a bigger rig, because it may be too high at one end or the other, and you can't level it, and paved. Let me tell you why. The leveling you can deal with. If you're there a couple days, you can deal with the level part. If it's unlevel, whatever. But the paved is critical. You've been in a place before, there a couple days it rained, went to get out, and this heavy thing behind us here sunk a little bit, we were stuck. Got pulled out, no problem, but that could be really frustrating. So whatever you can do to find at least the back wheels on a paved spot is going to help you a lot in making this a lot better of a journey, whether it be a 2-day weekend or your full time. We don't use the awning as much as I thought we would. I envisioned the awning being out, having a cold drink, watching a football game. What I found, at least with this awning, this Gerard awning, is any wind at all, the thing seems like a sail. I got to put it away. So be prepared if you do have one of these portable kind of tent rigs. They tend to be fine. You can stake them down. Our awning hasn't been able to be used probably even half as much as I thought we would. Boondocking, even in my time RVing, has gotten more challenging. So less access to Walmarts, and I'll call it more transitional docking. Let's start with that. So I'm going from a place to a place. I'm going to stay at Walmart. Boondocking has been harder and harder to find. And this is just traveling in between spots, not even long-term stay boondocking. So I found boondocking to be a real challenge, and having to consider alternative boondocking spots, one of which being, hey, hospital parking lots and businesses. As long as you're there, as long as you're gone before, say, the morning, you're going between spots, because the truck stops and Walmarts have really, and rest areas have really dried up over the years. So that's been very challenging, to say the least. Another thing I never thought about before we started full-timing was cleaning. So cleaning, especially since we have 2 dogs, but cleaning in general is a full-time job. If you don't do it, it mounts up so much faster than the sticks and bricks, because it's right there in front of you. We've got a 45-footer, or even a small one. I mean, the hallway's only so big, bathroom's only so big. So cleaning's is a full-time job. Not a big one, it's a small job. It's sweeping, especially if you're not on a paved spot like I mentioned, and it's wet and nasty, you really notice it. So that's one thing you're gonna have to do as a change in the RV life. Another thing I found about climate, so if right now we're in the winter, if you're in Florida in the summer, which we were, summers are much harder to manage than winters. And I'll tell you what I mean by that is, if you've got an AC that's not doing what you thought, you're in a bright sunny spot, right, where you don't have any shade, it's a lot harder sometimes to keep your rig cooler than it is, or if your AC goes out, than it is to keep it warm. So summers to me have been a lot more challenging to keep the rig, if it's 95 degrees out, keep the rig at a 75 than it is if it's 15 to keep the rig to 70. So summers have been a lot more challenging for us. We got 4 air conditioners. Then winters, I never thought that, but that's something to consider. What you're going to do is, in particularly if you are boondocking, say you're out somewhere and it's really hot, if one AC goes out, think about that. Maybe just be good fans, some system, because it can be a little more challenging in the summer than the winter to stay comfortable. Summers present an interesting problem as you're traveling here, and that's the unique bugs you run across. So let's just use Florida as an example. You're in Florida, and that could be all year round in Florida. Unique bugs being the flying cockroaches. So each place I've gone, I've noticed different types of bugs that I wasn't familiar with. Palmetto bugs that fly in are interesting. Out west, you got scorpions, things. So it's not as frustrating as that. Just been something to learn. What you're spraying for and protecting yourself from in vermin. We haven't had a mouse problem, but wherever you go, you're going to find a little bit different in vermin and bugs. We found a good way to deal with it just by making sure we've got a really good, pest control program done, which you wouldn't think about in an RV, but you definitely need to do. Washer and dryer. I would say no matter what you've got, you got a stackable. Small stackable in your rig, that's great. It's going to solve a lot. We're thinking about going that way now because we have a Splendide, which is effectively the wrinkle machine. The key there, if you do have a Splendide, is real small loads, because if you don't, just washing them will make them wrinkled. Pair of pants, that kind of thing. So getting wash done, we've just found sometimes it's better to the laundromat, knock out them done, have them done in an hour, or just trying to do it in the Splendide, or even the folks that have stackables, just the amount of time it takes. If you're doing, again, it may be like cleaning. If you do it every day or every few days, it's probably not a big deal. If you wait till the end of the week, have a lot of laundry, it's going to take a day just to get everything washed and dried and everything else. So that's been a little bit interesting, is just the whole washer machine compared to sticks and bricks. Travel days, all right? So travel days, it's not only the tear downs, you're getting everything ready, the awnings, make sure everything's secured, hooked up, get on the road. It's a lot more than you think to get going. Then you get there and it's the tear down, the setup. So travel days can be a little more frustrating unless you realize, I'm going to make this into a journey, just relax. You don't need to set up the day you get there. We had a bad problem just setting up and getting everything out and getting it locked on, where just set up the next day. Leave the truck hooked up, you got a pull-through side. For travel days, you really have to work to make them not stressful, because getting the truck ready to go and the tow vehicle, in our case a truck, an RV, getting there and then trying to set up can be just too much. So it's better just take your time, enjoy the ride. The thing I've seen, and I haven't had the big problem with it because we do have 4-wheel drive, but I've seen a lot of people, I can imagine being terribly frustrating, is having a 2-wheel drive truck versus a 4-wheel drive truck. So you're pulling a big fifth wheel, you get it in there, it's rainy like it is today, go to get it out, and you really just need, especially if you're on grass, 4-wheel drive to pull that fifth wheel out. We've had to pull some people out, help them get their rig out because it's been wet. Like, we're on a cement spot. They didn't think about it. If you can't afford it, definitely go 4-wheel drive if you're pulling something, just because you never know in these places, in these campsites, they're going to put you in all grass, a little bit of rain, and that heavy rig can make it a real challenge to get it out. Another thing that could be really frustrating, and here's our solve for it, is not having a physical map. Our solution has been, I get ready before the trip, kind of sit down with a flight plan, we'll call it, know where I'm going, have a pretty good idea. If I can, print out the Google Maps, directions by directions, look at a physical map so I can get an idea what's going on. But if you do lose the cell service, let's say your phone goes dead, you don't have good cell service, you don't have Google Maps anymore, having a physical map is going to be key. For us, it's been definitely a lifesaver at times, where I can look at the map. Sometimes the Google Maps I have a hard time seeing, getting it small enough, right? Where I can see where I'm going. I want to map out the course, because if you do have like in our case, a motorhome pulling a truck, or any of these large RVs, you got to know far in advance where you're turning. So a frustration that I've solved is having a physical map, and then part 2 of that is really game planning my trip before I go. Another one's been a big change besides getting rid of all your goodies, right? If you go full time, tools, all the things you're used to having. Put a comment below what was tough for you to get rid of. Tools for me is finding hobbies don't require a lot of stuff, right? So if your hobby is woodworking, this is going to be different. Now I've seen guys, I'll tell you this, who have a trailer behind their RV and they've got a woodworking shop in there, as well as it comes down, the car comes out, and the woodworking shop comes down, they work in it. Very cool idea, but most people, you have to figure out your hobbies that are going to fit inside of this, whether it be you got a 19-foot, 20-foot van, or you got a 45-foot motorhome, you have to pick your hobbies that are be commensurate with your storage space, or maybe just change them. That's been the fun part. So definitely a change in lifestyle is what hobbies you're gonna do on the road. You used to having 2 cars probably in the sticks and bricks. Now you have 1, right? So used to going one way, maybe your partner going the other way. You used to be and spend a lot more together time with that 1 car. So kind of the solution I found for it, which is probably a double-edged sword in a good way, is if you've got 1 car, you have a bike. Or I do more walking. So try to do more physical activity because you're not going to have 2 cars. Another thing that you definitely want to watch out for that can cause you some headaches if you're not looking for is when you do have your rig torn down to hit the road, right? Making sure you get in the habit, a routine, and it's hard. We're still working on it. Getting everything secure, because what can really be frustrating, going down the road, went through your mental checklist, your physical checklist of all the things secure, something's hitting the ground, breaking, a dish is coming out, or cabinet swinging open. That's always going to happen. Well, what I've found is I try to get in the same habit when I'm parked as on the road. So if we got a residential fridge. If I'm zip tying around it on the road, I try to get into a habit doing the same thing while parked. Just getting to that habit, because when you're going down the road, and first thing we found to help some of that is getting on that travel day, taking my time getting going. Anytime I've rushed, there's been more stuff that have fallen, broken, some unsecured. That's been a headache. So whatever you can do to reduce that, but taking your time and getting into a habit when you are parked, doing the same kind of security process you do when driving. So like example with the fridge, zip tying that joker shut, making sure all the cabinets are shut, all the stuff off the tables. I try to, as best we can, not accumulate more clutter that we got rid of, but it easily creeps back in if you're not careful. Another thing can be frustrating and self-imposed, right, is you start buying more stuff than you ever need. You got rid of all the stuff, right? Okay, so sticks and bricks, you spent all that time, and all of a sudden you start accumulating. I did, accumulating more stuff. So what I've done to kind of question that is like a 48-hour hiatus. Do I really need this? And then go remembering when I got rid of a bunch of stuff when we went from a house to the RV. I don't want to do that again. I don't want to throw any more stuff away, give it away, waste more money, just be wasteful in general. So I really try to think about not accumulating more stuff. So the frustrating part is you look around and you go, I've got a bunch more junk I didn't have when I started. It's been a frustration for me. I did it to myself. So I really had to make an effort more recently to say, what do I really need? And, example, a Wi-Fi booster inside the rig. A Wi-Fi, I want to boost towards the front. Do I really need that? Probably not. And I chose not to get it. Again, first world problems, but it's easy. You find yourself doing the same thing. The frustration being doing the same thing you did at the sticks and bricks, bringing it with you in the RV. Another frustrating thing that is still frustrating this day, and I'm still working out how to hack it, is the internet and streaming. It is tough finding a way, and I haven't found one yet. If you do everything streaming, what I mean by that is if you don't have satellite, you don't use that for television, you stream all your services, Netflix, Amazon, as well as for data, YouTube, whatever else you watch. It's hard to find something that's like one size fits all in internet streaming. That's an ongoing process. If you've got some solutions below, put them down there. I would really appreciate that comment, because that's been something I haven't found anybody has a solution for. Because most people like us were streaming before. So now all of a sudden, try to do the same thing and it does not work as well. You just have to get to the resolution of, I'm going to watch things at 480p versus 1080p. Good problem to have, but it is frustrating when you got used to that process. Campgrounds. They are never accurate in my experience of telling you the size of their site, whether you can get in with the size rig, and like our case, a 45-footer. They'll say, yeah, it's a 60-foot site, no problem. Be very careful. I'm still, to this day, one solution for this has been really grilling them about looking at the site map, which is not to scale, thinking about, okay, if I'm backing in, it's not a pull-through, can I make the turn to get the back rear end of the thing? Really asking the campground site host, have you seen a 45-footer in there before, RV? Have you seen a big fifth wheel in there? And again, like I said earlier, is it grass? So you get on there, you back in, it's outstanding, it's grass. A couple things to think about. So the campgrounds have not been very good about thinking about how you're going to get in, how you're going to get out, because once you get there, that's your trip, right? Your plan. So it can be very frustrating if you don't really plan ahead. Even then, sometimes, guess what's happened? You get there and you go, this is what we got. Do the best with it, and that's what we had to do because we haven't had consistency in the campgrounds. And like I alluded to earlier, personal space with these things. Your personal space typically is fine, except like today, a rainy day, both dogs in, wet, dirty, you're on top of each other. The personal space component of this sometimes is frustrating. You have to really work on finding your personal space, going for a walk. There's, again, no matter how big or small your rig is, you're going to get jammed up on these days, whether it be a rainy summer day, hot day in the desert, or a cold winter day. You're going to have to work on personal space to make this something that can be frustrating at home, but you go to room 2, or you go outside, go down to the mall. Probably don't have this when you're on the road as much. So you have to be very flexible and think about the good parts about this, and then go to the next spot and realize it's probably just the day, and it'll resolve itself.